August 10th, 2019, 6:30 in the morning. Guards at America's most secure federal prison open cell number 207. Inside, they find Jeffrey Epstein unresponsive and lifeless on his bunk bed. The man who reportedly knew too much. Dead. But here's what doesn't make sense. 3 cameras monitoring his cell, all malfunctioning. Guards assigned to check on him every 30 minutes. Asleep at their desks. His cellmate transferred out the day before. This is the story of how the most high-profile prisoner in America died under impossible circumstances. And by the end, you'll understand why millions still don't believe the official story. Let's rewind 6 weeks, July 6th, 2019. Jeffrey Epstein's private plane lands at Teterboro Airport in New Jersey. He's just returned from Paris, likely expecting to continue his life of luxury and power. Instead, a team of federal agents surrounds the aircraft. This time, there's no escape. Epstein wasn't new to law enforcement. Back in 2008, he'd been convicted of soliciting prostitution from a minor in Florida, but he got what many called the deal of the century, serving just 13 months in a private wing of a county jail, where he was allowed to leave for work 12 hours a day. The prosecutors who gave him that deal, they kept it secret from his victims. But this arrest was different. Federal prosecutors had spent months building an airtight case: sex trafficking, conspiracy, abuse of dozens of underage girls spanning decades. If convicted, Epstein would spend the rest of his life behind bars. He was taken directly to the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan, a fortress that had held terrorists and cartel bosses. When Epstein arrived, a staff member observed him carefully. She noted in her report that he seemed confused, sad, and withdrawn. She recommended that prison officials keep a close watch on him. Epstein spent less than a full day in general population before being moved. Prison officials made the call to transfer him to the special housing unit, a more isolated section of the facility. The reasoning seemed sound. Media coverage of his arrest was exploding. Every news channel was covering it. And officials knew that keeping Epstein alive wasn't just about justice for his victims. Epstein had spent decades in the orbit of some of the world's most powerful people, politicians, billionaires, celebrities. His private Caribbean island had hosted countless influential figures. If he decided to cooperate with prosecutors, the information he possessed could bring down empires. On July 18th, Epstein appeared in court for his bail hearing. His lawyers painted a picture of a reformed man who posed no flight risk. They even offered to have him confined to his $56 million Manhattan townhouse with an ankle monitor. The judge rejected the request immediately. Epstein had 3 passports, owned a private island, had taken 20 international trips in the past year alone, and maintained a private jet. He wasn't just a flight risk. He was a man with unlimited resources to disappear forever. Bail denied. Epstein would await trial behind bars. 12 days after the bail hearing, at 1:27 in the morning, guards rushed to Epstein's cell. What they discovered should have changed everything that followed. As per official findings, Jeffrey Epstein was reportedly discovered on the floor, barely conscious, with a strip of cloth around his neck that had left visible marks. Prison protocol was crystal clear. Any inmate showing signs of self-harm must be placed under constant observation with enhanced psychological evaluation. Epstein was transferred to a special observation cell where guards could monitor him through windows 24 hours a day. Epstein's cellmate was Nicholas Tartaglione, a former police officer now facing murder charges for killing 4 men in a drug dispute. Tartaglione was a large, physically imposing man, and he would never be getting out of prison. Spencer Couvin, an attorney representing several of Epstein's victims, publicly raised a disturbing possibility. What if this wasn't a suicide attempt? What if someone wanted to silence Epstein before he could strike a deal with prosecutors? Tartaglione denied involvement and was cleared by prison officials. Online, a theory began spreading like wildfire. The idea of an Epstein list, a detailed record of powerful people who had visited his island and participated in his crimes. After spending a week in the observation cell, Epstein was returned to the special housing unit on July 30th. Over the next week, he seemed to stabilize. He met with his lawyers. He bought items from the prison commissary, $74 worth, including a radio and headphones. On August 8th, something happened that should have triggered every alarm bell in the facility. Epstein met with 2 of his attorneys and signed his last will and testament. He placed his $600 million estate into a trust, and named 2 longtime employees as executors. The very next day, August 9th, over 2,000 pages of court documents related to Epstein's case were unsealed and released to the public. The documents were devastating, containing graphic allegations and detailed testimony from multiple victims. That same day, Epstein's cellmate was transferred to another facility. For the first time since the July incident, Jeffrey Epstein would spend the night alone. That evening, Epstein met with his attorneys. According to their later statements, he appeared upbeat, even optimistic. At 6:45 p.m., Epstein was escorted back to his cell by Officer Tova Noel, the same guard he had once accused of serving him burnt food deliberately. At 7 p.m., something unusual happened. Epstein was permitted to make an unmonitored phone call, a violation of standard Bureau of Prisons policy. The official record listed the call as going to his mother's phone number. But here's the problem. His mother had been dead for 15 years. He was calling someone else, someone close to him. We still don't know who. Prison regulations required guards to physically check on Epstein every 30 minutes. His recent history made this even more critical. 2 guards were on duty that night, Tova Noel and Michael Thomas. Both had clean employment records. Both were about to destroy their careers. At 10 p.m., the scheduled count was missed. Noel walked past Epstein's cell at 10:30 but never looked inside. The electronic lock system activated for the night, sealing every cell. From midnight until 6:30 in the morning, neither guard entered the cell tier. Security cameras later revealed them sitting at their desk, one sleeping, one browsing the internet, shopping online. During these 6.5 hours, they signed multiple count slips, each one falsely claiming they had checked every cell, including Epstein's. 3 cameras were positioned to monitor Epstein's cell. When investigators later tried to review the footage, they found that all 3 had malfunctioned. The Metropolitan Correctional Center was an aging facility with outdated equipment, but for all 3 cameras covering the most important prisoner in federal custody to fail simultaneously, 6:30 a.m. breakfast time, guards moved through the special housing unit, distributing meal trays. According to official reports, when authorities reached cell 207, they reportedly found Jeffrey Epstein in a seated position on the floor, with a strip of bedsheet around his neck that was attached to the top bunk. He was unresponsive. His face was discolored. He was already in cardiac arrest. Medical examiners would later determine he had been dead for approximately 2 hours, meaning he died sometime around 4:30 in the morning. Epstein's body was rushed to a nearby hospital where he was officially pronounced dead. But even this violated protocol. In any death involving potential foul play, the cell must be treated as a crime scene. Nothing should be moved until investigators document every detail. Instead, within 10 minutes of discovery, the scene had been completely disrupted and critical evidence potentially destroyed. Chief Medical Examiner Barbara Sampson conducted the autopsy and officially concluded that the death was the result of suicide by hanging. Epstein's family hired their own expert forensic pathologist, Michael Baden, who had worked on the JFK assassination investigation and the O.J. Simpson case. Baden raised serious concerns. He pointed to multiple fractures in Epstein's neck bones, particularly the hyoid bone. While these injuries can occur in hanging, Baden argued they were more commonly seen in homicide by strangulation. He also questioned the logistics. Perhaps most suspicious, photographs of the cell showed items on the bunk bed completely undisturbed. If Epstein had climbed up and struggled while dying, wouldn't there be signs of disturbance? Attorney General William Barr immediately ordered an investigation. On August 13th, the warden was suspended and replaced. Guards Noel and Thomas were placed on administrative leave. In November, they were offered a deal: admit to falsifying records, complete community service, and cooperate with investigators. No prison time. Many saw this as evidence of a larger cover-up. With Epstein dead, prosecutors shifted focus to his longtime associate, Ghislaine Maxwell. In July 2020, she was arrested and charged with sex trafficking and conspiracy. After a lengthy trial, she was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in federal prison. She remains the only person convicted in connection with Epstein's operation. As for the famous Epstein list, most documents remain sealed, supposedly to protect ongoing investigations. Despite widespread speculation about powerful figures involved in his crimes, no other clients have been charged. The investigation into his death continued for 4 years, finally concluding in June 2023. The Department of Justice released its final report under Attorney General Merrick Garland. It documented dozens of failures, negligence, incompetence, falsified records, equipment malfunctions, but the conclusion remained unchanged. No evidence of foul play. Jeffrey Epstein died by suicide. So, what really happened? Did a desperate man facing life in prison take his own life? Or did powerful forces ensure he would never testify? According to official findings, the death was ruled a suicide. But the circumstances were so compromised, so riddled with failures and impossible coincidences, that certainty is impossible. What we know for certain is this: dozens of victims never got their day in court. Whatever secrets Epstein possessed died with him, and the questions surrounding his death have become yet another injustice in a case built on injustice. The truth may be buried forever, but the questions refuse to die.